If you've ever watched a child dump toys, spin wheels, mouth objects, or repeat the same action over and over, you might have thought, oh, how do we fix this? Today, I want to gently shift that question. Exploratory play is not a problem to fix, it's a stage to understand. Let's talk about why that matters, especially for young autistic children. I'm Tara Phillips, and this is the Autism Little Learners podcast, where I share simple, neuro-affirming tools to support young autistic children with compassion and confidence. Exploratory play can feel uncomfortable for us adults. It can look messy, repetitive, immature for the child's age, non-social, unproductive, and in a classroom setting, it can kind of feel disruptive or chaotic sometimes. When a child dumps a bin for the fifth time in 10 minutes, we feel pressure. Pressure from time, curriculum, IEP goals, administrators, other adults watching and maybe judging. So sometimes we react quickly, we redirect, we remove materials, we say no dumping, we push them towards something more quote unquote functional. But here's the important question. Is exploratory play actually the problem, or is it our discomfort with it? Exploratory play is the earliest stage of toy play as described by the Hannon Center. It's when children explore objects primarily through their senses. So they dump, bang, shake, mouth, throw, spin, drop, visually inspect, line up. Does that sound familiar? And here's what's important. This stage is developmentally typical in infancy. Autistic children often remain in this stage longer, not because they're incapable of more advanced play, but because sensory processing, motor planning, and social attention develop differently. Exploratory play is very sensory-driven learning, and it's how the nervous system gathers information. Let's break this down more deeply. When a child repeatedly dumps a container of blocks, they're learning gravity. Objects fall downward. Sound variation. Different objects make different sounds when they hit the floor. Visual tracking. They watch the objects scatter and move. Cause and effect. My action caused this result. Motor planning, reaching, grasping, lifting, releasing. When a child spins a wheel over and over, they're learning circular motion, visual stimulation patterns, fine motor coordination, predictability and repetition, and focused attention. When a child mouths objects, they're gathering texture information, temperature differences, firmness, shape, sensory input for regulation. This is not random behavior. It's information gathering. It's neurological learning. Now, why do autistic children stay in this stage longer? This is where we need nuance. Autistic children often process sensory input differently, seek or avoid certain types of sensory stimulation, have differences in motor planning, have differences in imitation skills, and differences in joint attention. Exploratory play often feels predictable and regulating, and regulation is foundational. If a child's dysregulated, they cannot engage in more complex, functional, or pretend play. Sometimes exploratory play is exactly what the nervous system needs. It's not regression, it's more about regulation. A common fear is, what if they never move past this? And the fear is understandable, but development is not forced forward through pressure, especially when it comes to play. It moves forward through safety, regulation, exposure, modeling, and connection. And when we rush children out of exploratory play, we often increase stress, and stress actually slows development. Expansion works best when it feels like a natural next step, not a correction. Now, let's be balanced. There are times that we intervene if materials are unsafe or being thrown at others, creating injury risk, that kind of thing. We set boundaries, of course, but boundaries are not the same as elimination. We could say, have a visual for like blocks stay on the floor, or we find an area that's maybe safer for them to play with those blocks. And we still allow the dumping, and we can create a designated dumping bin, a soft surface, a tot tube, which I'll link in the show notes, a ramp for objects. So we don't necessarily remove the sensory experience, but we shape it safely. And one of the most harmful myths is that, well, that's not play. They're not playing yet. Exploratory play is play. It fits Pamela Wolfberg's definition of play as pleasurable, motivated from within, voluntary, flexible, and actively engaging for the child. If the child's engaged, curious, and motivated, it counts. It may not look like pretend tea parties, but it's real. When adults try to immediately push a child into functional play, a few things happen. The child disengages, the child escalates, the child avoids, they resist imitation, and their relationship becomes strained. Because from the child's perspective, the adult just removed something predictable and regulating, something that made them feel good. Imagine if someone interrupted your focused task repeatedly and insisted you switch to something else. You would resist too. So let's talk about a more supportive path forward. Instead of fixing exploratory play, we can observe what patterns are they showing? What sensory input do they seem to seek? Jot it down. Join in. Imitate their action. Sit beside them. Match their rhythm. Gently expand. Add one small variation. If they dump, add a sound. Add a pause. Add a container to dump into. If they spin, spin another object. Add ready, set, go. Say that while they are doing it. And if they love to drop things, introduce the ramp, introduce the tube, introduce cause and effect. These are some of the things that we talked about in episode 169. Expansion should feel like an invitation, not interruption. So the bridge from exploratory play to functional play often begins with cause and effect. Instead of dumping randomly, the child begins to notice, oh, if I press this, it lights up. If I put this here, it rolls. If I drop it in this tube, it appears below, and it makes a really fun noise at the bottom. This is the beginning of one-step functional play. But that shift cannot happen if we remove exploratory play entirely. The nervous system needs repetition before it's ready for complexity. And here's something we don't say enough. Well, maybe you hear me say it. Play is regulation. Repetitive play often reduces anxiety. Predictable sensory input calms the nervous system. When we try to eliminate repetitive exploratory play, we sometimes remove a child's self-regulation tool. So instead of asking, how do I stop this? We can ask, what sensory need is being met? And how can I meet it in a way that's safe and expandable? In a classroom, exploratory play can feel disruptive, but here are some supportive shifts. Rotate materials so dumping bins are intentional. Provide structured drop zones. Offer heavy work before transitions. Teach peers about different ways to play. Schedule sensory-rich play intentionally. When we plan for exploratory play, instead of fighting it, the whole room feels calmer. The next time you see a child dumping, spinning, or lining up toys, pause before labeling it as a deficit. Instead, try this internal script. This is a stage. This is sensory learning. This is regulation. This is foundation. Exploratory play is not a problem to fix. It's a foundation to respect. And when we respect it, we build from it gently, thoughtfully, and without taking away the joy. Thank you for spending this time with me. You're doing important work, and the small supports you put into place matter. Keep leading with connection, and I'll talk to you again next week.